Hello and welcome to Daily Reflection with Sonia Rodrigues. Today is Saturday, the 13th of March 2021. We are going to reflect on the Gospel according to Luke chapter 18 verses 9 to 14. Let's open wide our hearts and listen. He also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and regarded others with contempt. Two men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, was praying thus: God, I thank you that I am not like other people, thieves, rogues, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give a tenth of all my income. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even look up to heaven, but was beating his breast and saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his home justified rather than the other. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, but all who humble themselves will be exalted. The Gospel of the Lord. It is said that comparison corrodes contentment. This is true because each one of us is fearfully and wonderfully created in the image of God for a purpose. Comparing one to another would defile that purpose. Today's Gospel about the parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector, however, offers us an opportunity to compare and contrast the two characters in it, not just to figure out which one was better than the other, but more importantly, to say which one we most resemble. The only common aspect between the Pharisee and the tax collector was they both went up to pray in the temple. If you observe closely, however, the content and intent of their prayer were poles apart. The Pharisee's prayer had a string of self-focused I statements, proudly informing God about all he had ticked off on his to-do list, perhaps expecting God to pat him on the back. On the other hand, the tax collector totally humbled himself before God and simply sought his mercy. The self-righteous Pharisee felt he was holier than everyone else, which gave him the right to look down upon others and to label and judge them, all in the guise of prayer. The only person the tax collector criticized was himself, looking within, acknowledging his sin and repenting before the Lord. The Pharisee was in the presence of God. However, instead of focusing on the altar, his eyes wandered about everywhere, and when he spotted the tax collector praying, he sneered at him. The tax collector, however, didn't even approach the altar. He knew he was on holy ground and felt unworthy to even look up. He just cried out to God and surrendered himself. Jesus categorically reminds us, when you are praying, do not heap up empty phrases as the Gentiles do, for they think that they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask Him. Chanting long, meaningless prayers might impress the people watching us, but our Father, who knows the deepest intentions of our mind and heart, understands everything even without our words. He never despises the prayers of a sincere and contrite heart, which is why the tax collector went home justified that day, as the purity of his intent exalted and honored God. How often have we been in church and spent time on umpteen distractions around us instead of simply focusing on being in the presence of God? How often have we prayed with our lips, but our minds and hearts were miles away? Today is a good opportunity to reflect on the true intent behind all that we do. God bless you.